Hello, dear listeners. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most touching and profound events in human history, an event that shaped both religious and spiritual life across the world, the crucifixion of Jesus. This event isn't just about the suffering of one man, but a symbol of the greatest sacrifice and love ever given to humanity. Today, we'll feel the depth, the pain, and the meaning behind those final moments of a man who gave his life for the world. First segment, Jesus' journey. From the day Jesus was born, he carried a sacred mission. Throughout his life, he called people to love, compassion, and peace. He touched hearts, performed miracles, and became the hope of the weak and the lost. But his message disturbed those in power. Jesus was shaking the foundations of the status quo, aiming to change the world with love. And that change was the greatest threat to the ruling class. The Last Supper. Jesus was with his closest friends. The silence of that evening carried a storm within. The weight of that moment foretold the approaching end. Jesus broke the bread and shared the wine for the last time. "This is my body, this is my blood," he said, not only to his friends but to all of humanity. He was ready to sacrifice himself, but his friends couldn't yet fully grasp the magnitude of that moment. Second segment, betrayal and trial. As the night wore on, Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was preparing to face the most difficult moment in human history. Inside, he felt a deep fear but also a profound surrender. "If this cup can be taken from me, but not my will, your will be done," he prayed. He wasn't thinking of his own suffering but the salvation of humanity. But these sacred moments were interrupted by betrayal and darkness. One of his closest friends, Judas, handed him over to the Roman soldiers. In that moment, it wasn't just Jesus who was betrayed. It was the heart of all humanity. It was the most tangible form of betrayal against love. Jesus was dragged through a series of unjust trials. In the face of false witnesses, accusations, and shouting, Jesus remained silent. He didn't defend himself because his mission was beyond earthly justice. The only justice that mattered to him was God's will. Third segment, the road to the cross. Finally, the terrible verdict was given. Jesus would be crucified by the Romans. The pain of that moment was not only physical but also spiritual. A crown of thorns was placed on his head, a cruel mockery of his divine kingship. The heavy cross was laid on his shoulders, symbolizing the weight of the world's sins. Every step was burdened with sorrow. In the crowd, Jesus was alone, helpless. Yet in his eyes, there was still a glimmer of love. He was walking this road for humanity, bleeding with every step, but with each step drawing closer to God. Fourth segment, the moments on the cross. And finally, he reached Golgotha. Jesus' hands and feet were nailed to the cross. The pain was indescribable. Every breath was a struggle. But even in this agony, Jesus accepted his fate. There was still love in his eyes. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." He forgave those who tormented him. This was the highest form of love. The hours spent on the cross were the darkest in human history. The skies darkened, and for a moment, the world held its breath. Just before he took his last breath, Jesus said, "It is finished." His mission was completed. This sacrifice was not only for the people of that time, but for all of humanity throughout history. Final segment, hope and redemption. The crucifixion of Jesus was not the end, it was a beginning. He conquered not through death, but through love. Jesus' moments on the cross are a call to all of humanity. We can change the world through love, forgiveness, and peace. His pain was the price of our redemption. And today, the power of that love still resonates in our hearts. Dear listeners, at the end of the story, our greatest task is to remember Jesus' sacrifice and to live by the message of love he gave us. In the face of life's hardships, we can still choose love and forgiveness, because the path of Jesus is the path of light.